organized by the government of Greenland. Today, our Prime Minister will brief you on his government green policy initiatives. We will start with a video called Postcard from Greenland, illustrating the climate changes we are experiencing.
Pisusilata аллангориарторнера акиорниарлугу нунарсуарми тамарми нунат аваннарли qano илиорнерсут малиннааффигинеқарпут ааммами писариақарпоқ нунатсинни силап писсусиата аллангориарторнера ааққеққиссиннааюннаалерпоқ кингунерисаалу саккортуут малуннарсеқерпут сиуниссамилу сули саккортунерусуссааппут Kalaalli nunaanni silap pissusiata allangornerata kinguneri ersaqeqqissаарput inuunitsinnilu sunniuteqartarput silatinguatsinni allanguutit pisarput nunarsua tamakkerluu kiatsikkiartorneranut sanilliullugu issittoq pingasoriaammik sukkanerusumik kiatsikkiartorpoq nalunarsuisarnerit aallartimmatali siullerpaamik aggustimi 2021mi nunatsinni sermersuu portunersaani apinani siallerpoq inuiaqatigiit uuliamik ikummatissanik atuiffiungitsut anguniaraanni nutaaliorneq aningaasaliinerpisussaaffiliinerlu pisariaqartinneqarput nukik ataavartoq atorlugu ukiuni qulikkaani arlalinnit kalaallit nunaata nunats avannarli sanilerisavut suleqatigisarpagut assersuutigalugu ernguk nukinganik nukissiorfipput angisooq noogimiut piginnaasaat teknologiallu atorlugit ineriartortitaavoq nukissiorfiit ineriartortitsineq eqqarsaatigalugu nunani avannarlerni suliffeqarfiit ataavartumik atassuteqarfigisarpai ifuulip ineriartortinneqarneranut atulernissaanullu ilisimatusarneq kalaallit nunaanut pingaaruteqarpoq tassunga assersuutaalluarpoq nunani avannarlerni imaatigut angalaneq aamma nukik pillugu ilisimatusarnermut programmi kalaallit nunaata CO2-mik aniatitsiffiunginnissaanik anguniagaqarnermi programmit alloriarneruvoq pingaarutilik kalaallit nunaata iluani erngub nukinganik nukissiorfiit ineriartortinneqarput ukialuillu ingerlanerini innaalлагissamik pilersuinerup 90% missaa nukimmik ataavartumik pilersorneqarsinnaanissaa naatsorsuutigineqarpoq taamaattorlu suli kalaallit nunaani erngub nukinga annertooruyussuaq suli iluaqutigineqarsinnaavoq nunarsuarmi akit appasinnerpaat ilaat atorlugit kalaallit nunaat innaallagissiorsinnaagaluartoq kalaallit nunaata nunarsuarmi inissisimanera pissutaalluni nukik sinneqartoorutigineqartoq atorluarneqarsinnaarpiangilaq ullutsinni nukiit mingutsitsingittut atorlugit systeeminik atuiartulernermi teknologi pigineqartoqqaangerlugu CO2-mik atuiunnaariartorneq anguniarneqartariaqarpoq iliuseqarsinnaasut ilagaat CO2 nunap iluani toqqorneqarsinnaanera tamanna ima taaneqartarpoq Carbon Capture and Storage naalisarlugu CCS maanna nunapsananeqaataaqanoq ittoq CO2-mik toqqorsivittut atorneqarsinnaanersoq misissorparput kalaallit nunaat nunaruyussuuvoq nunalu assigingittorpassuarnik iluseqarluni tamannalu assigingittunik periarfissiivoq CCS atorniaraanni nukik pisariaqartinneqarpoq kalaallit nunaanilu nukik ataavartoq erngub nukinga atorneqarsinnaavoq sumiiffiit ilaat misissuiffigineqartut kalaallit nunaata kitaaniipput taakkua ilagaat nuup eqqaaniittoq ermup nukinganik pissarsifiulluarsinnaasoq.
And before I'll give the floor to our Prime Minister of Greenland, it is a privilege to welcome Scotland's Minister for Environment and Land Reform, Mary McAllan. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. First of all, thank you for sharing that beautiful video with stunning images of your country. It was absolutely beautiful. It's a real pleasure to be here today with you all. First of all, I should like to take the opportunity to welcome you to our beautiful city of Glasgow. We are delighted to host this vital summit at such a crucial time for our countries and for the world. By latitude, Glasgow is also the closest city to the Arctic Circle to have ever played host to the COP conference. And earlier this afternoon, I spoke in the Premier of Greenland, just next door, about Scotland's relationship with the Arctic in the context of climate change. And I suspect that my microphone may have gone off. I'm not sure if you can still hear me. I'll try and shout. With my speech, I also accept the invitation for Scotland to join the 50 by 30 coalition, an alliance between scientists and governments to reach 50% reduction in emissions by 2030 to protect the frozen regions of our planet, including the Arctic. Our relationship with the Arctic region, it goes back hundreds of years and continues to grow from strength to strength. In 2019, the Scottish Government published its first Arctic policy framework, Arctic Connections. This illustrates existing links, reflects on shared challenges, particularly those stemming from rurality and low population density, and explores avenues for ever closer cooperation. Scotland and Greenland have more in common than you might immediately think. The most northerly part of Scotland is at the same latitude as Cape Farewell and is closer to the Arctic Circle than it is to London. Both Scotland and Greenland were deeply influenced by Norse settlers in the 10th century, forming part of a wide-ranging North Atlantic trading network. Today, we have many and varied links with Greenland. Our scientists have strong connections. Their colleagues across the Arctic work with ours here at home. We host Europe's largest glaciology group, whose world-renowned researchers carry out regular studies on Greenland's ice sheets. And the University of Greenland is a partner in one of those projects that we have recently funded as part of the Arctic Connections Fund. A common theme in our cooperation and the greatest of shared challenges is, of course, climate change. It endangers the future of the Arctic and the entire planet. The ice sheet covering Greenland is composed of nearly 3 quadrillion tons of ice. That's 15 zeros, and I had to check that earlier. So if you're wondering. But the ice is disappearing at a really alarming rate, with dramatic repercussions for our planet, which are already being felt by coastal communities today. So with the Arctic warming more than twice as fast as other parts of the world, Greenland really is central in our fight to secure a sustainable future for our planet and everything living on it. So while most attention is paid to the world's largest economies, I believe that smaller countries like ours have an essential role to play. Scotland is using our position as co-chairs of the Under 2 coalition to help deliver ambitious outcomes at COP26. And of course, we are trying to lead the way with our climate targets. But climate targets are only meaningful if they are supported by world-leading action. We are proud of the progress we've made so far, but we recognise there is much to do and much collaboration is needed. And so I am delighted that Greenland shares our ambitions, and I believe that working together we can achieve our goals and deliver a truly sustainable future. So without any further delay, it gives me enormous pleasure indeed to welcome to the platform the Prime Minister of Greenland.
Thank you, Minister McKellan, and thank you for Scotland host a COP26. I hope your speech here and my speech here will be a partnership between Greenland and Scotland. Welcome. It is a privilege to address you today on behalf of the Government of Greenland. Greenland attends the COP26 with a strong commitment to counter climate change and with ambitious political action points. But before I elaborate upon the steps that we are undertaking, allow me to talk shortly about the ongoing changes in our climate. The Arctic and Greenland are two inseparable entities. When you think about the Arctic, you think about Greenland, and when you think about Greenland, you think about Arctic. We make our lives in Arctic, but our home is changing. You have all read the alarming climate reports. In the Arctic, we are experiencing the warming 3 times faster than the rest of the world. For Greenland, this is not only numbers and statistics. In Greenland, global warming is visible right outside our doorstep. The sea and the ice sheet are retreating at an alarming pace, and the effects of climate change have a direct impact on our everyday lives, to our way of life and to our culture. Our environment is visibly changing. Hunters, fishermen and sailors report about ice-free waters to a degree never seen before. This summer it was raining and not snowing on the summit of the Greenlandic ice sheet. What our people is witnessing is backed by science. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Changes, IPCC, wrote in their latest report, Climate Change 2021, the physical science basis that last summer the Arctic sea ice area was smaller than any time the past 1,000 years. Dramatic shifts between warm and cold creates ice encasement damage, threatening grazing animals, domestic as well as wild animals, is alarming to us in Greenland. Our unique biodiversity is threatened as nature is transformed and the habitats for both land and sea animals are vanishing. Climate change is one of the greatest global threats towards biodiversity, and we all need to work together to mitigate the pressure applied to nature. Allow me to share with you a secret. What happens in the industrialized part of the world does not stay in the industrialized part of the world, but travels up to the Arctic. And what then happens in the Arctic does not stay in the Arctic. Over 80% of Greenland, which is the largest island in the world, is covered by ice. And because of continued burning of fossil fuels, our island is melting. The melting of the Greenland ice sheet and our glaciers will have severe consequences for sea level rise elsewhere in the world. We need urgent and ambitious actions, and we need the big emitters on board to stand a chance. Even though Greenland, with its just over 56,000 inhabitants, only has a small discharge of CO2, we want to do our part. To lead by example, We want to be known for our commitments to renewable resources and live up to our international name, Greenland. Our new government has initiated a number of actions point to this effect. First and foremost, I am happy to announce that last week our government decided that Greenland should join the Paris Agreement. Today, Greenland has territorial reservation. This summer, Greenland announced an immediately halt to all new oil and gas exploration licenses. We have just adopted Greenland's first 10-year strategy on biodiversity, which sets the framework of sustainable management of biodiversity and natural resources. Greenland's parliament is in the process of adopting legislation for building new hydropower plants. In a few years from now, 90% of the electricity produced in Greenland will be from sustainable, renewable sources. And we will continue to develop sustainable energy sources until we are no longer depending upon fossil fuels for our public heat and electricity production. Greenland has huge untapped hydropower resources, which exceed our domestic demand multiplied times. We are right now in a process of opening up for investors who can develop these areas. Our ambition and vision is to become a next exporter of renewable energy within 1 or 2 decades. These large hydropower resources can be utilized in collaboration with national and international investors who need large amounts of cheap and renewable energy, for example data centers, or as input to power-to-X processes. One of the major CO2 dischargers in Greenland and globally is our ships. Therefore, my government will engage with international key stakeholders to accelerate the process toward zero carbon shipping. I am happy to announce that we as a first step will host an international zero emission shipping conference in Greenland in 2022. So, it is my hope that the world leaders are up for the task. COP26 is a key moment for all governments to show their commitment to curb global warming. This is indeed our last best chance. Greenland will do its part, and we hope the rest of the world will do the same. Thank you. Qujanaq.